novel coronavirus pandemic has forced most of us indoors. There are fewer people driving on our roads today, and that has meant relatively lesser pollution in the last few months. Can we keep this up in a post-COVID world and adopt green practices when it comes to our mobility? That's what we'll talk about today. Hello and welcome to Eco India. I'm Sanuta Raghu, coming to you from my makeshift home studio here in Mumbai. Now, Bengaluru's world-famous traffic jams may have drastically eased during the lockdown, but residents are already bracing themselves for business as usual when their daily commute resumes. A group of techies we met before the lockdown is providing a much-needed alternative to help decongest the city's packed roads.
The world's most traffic congested city. That was a designation given to Bengaluru at the start of 2020. It's a dubious honor for India's IT hub, which is home to some of the world's biggest tech corporations. During rush hour, commuters here spent an extra 243 hours stuck in traffic in 2019. That's 10 days and 3 hours in traffic each year. So what's the best way to beat the congestion? For engineer Karthik Ranganathan, it's his bike. But can he really be faster than his colleague who's driving a car?
We are at the Binamangala temple, and we need to get to the Domlur flyover, which is approximately 2 kilometers from here. So, Ankit, see you there.
Yeah.
Karthik Ranganathan and Ankit Naredi work for the same company. Ankit Naredi will travel by car while Karthik Ranganathan will take his bike to work.
It's been 10 minutes. I got stuck in traffic. It's heavy traffic here. Sometimes even for a small stretch, it takes too long and we get delayed.
Cycling has been part of Karthik Ranganathan's daily routine since his childhood. As a seasoned rider, he expertly navigates the city's jam-packed roads using his tried and tested environmentally friendly mode of transport.
It's taken me less than 9 minutes to cover the 2 kilometers from Binamangala, and Ankit is still not here.
Finally, 6 minutes later, his colleague arrives.
Wow.
Heavy traffic. Yeah, lucky on a bike.
So how long it took you?
Almost 15 minutes.
Karthik Ranganathan is the clear winner. But cycling in Bengaluru comes with strings attached. The onset of COVID-19 may have led to fewer vehicles on the streets, but it is estimated that by 2022, the number of vehicles in the city will cross the 10 million mark. So even though it can be a quicker option, riding a bicycle in Bengaluru can be dangerous as the city lacks cycling infrastructure such as bike lanes.
For me, so both my helmet and like my glove, so they are two non-negotiable. So the minute I take my cycle out, it's when I get near my cycle, so these two come along with me, right? So then, yeah, it's, so knowing where you cycle helps, right? So knowing your road helps.
In 2019, Karthik Ranganathan became a bicycle ambassador for his company as part of a city-wide initiative called Cycle to Work. He wants to encourage his colleagues to also make the switch to using a bicycle as a long-term solution to decongest their city. Cycle to Work was born out of a desire to target people who have the option to choose between various modes of transport for their work commute and ensuring that they opt for a bicycle for that particular trip. The project was initiated by Satyanarayan Sankaran, a techie-turned-entrepreneur consulting on urban mobility and data-led planning for smart cities.
Cars and the private motor vehicles, they cause congestion and they cause pollution, and they are causing this together. It is not one or the other. So you can't solve only congestion and say we've solved the problem, or only pollution and say we've solved the problem.
Satyanarayan Sankaran is also known as Bengaluru's bicycle mayor, an honorary role commissioned by BYCS, a Dutch social enterprise working worldwide to get 50% of all city trips made by bicycle by 2030.
I think every time a person makes this choice of trying to take a bicycle, the entire city benefits. It's one thing for you to enjoy riding the bike and make it a recreational option and get fit, be healthy, enjoy the ride. But it's another thing to make it count for the city.
He developed the Cycle to Work platform that cyclists can use free of charge to clock their daily work rides through an app. The data for each trip comprises workplace location, the route taken, distance traveled, and calculates the carbon emissions offset by the commute. This creates a public leaderboard that is updated in real time. Using technology to gamify cycling to work has generated a sense of competition among riders that fosters sustainable behavior change. Cycle to Work awards the best teams among the members of the platform. One of them is Karthik Ranganathan's company.
This became this daily habit of ours to see, okay, I mean, so the number of rides that we did, and yeah, so how many rides did we do, right? So then did we get any new riders in, right? So that sort of became this habit within the whole team, right? So which kind of helped us and pushed the whole company to get on it.
Close to 2,000 people in Bengaluru are today registered on the Cycle to Work app. Together, they have clocked 600,000 kilometers by riding their bicycles to work, just within 2 years. Traffic snarl-ups are expected to reappear in the city post-lockdown. But these citizens of Bengaluru are fighting hard to prove that bicycling could be a viable and eco-friendly mode of transport for India's urban working classes.
Now, the world economy has taken a huge beating because of the pandemic. Governments have taken unprecedented steps in the form of credits and subsidies to kickstart their economy. Are these steps aligned with sustainable development? We did a fact check to find out.
Aircraft with nowhere to go. Commercial aviation almost ground to a halt worldwide because of coronavirus travel bans. On the left, flights over Europe on the last Sunday of March last year. On the right, this year, the difference is huge and astonishing. Industrial activity has also plummeted. Climate researchers estimate that carbon dioxide emissions this year could be 7% less than last, if some restrictions remain in place worldwide. That would be the biggest drop in CO2 emissions in 75 years. Economies are suffering. Governments around the world are trying to shore up companies with programs worth billions of euros to offset pandemic-related losses. But does that come at the expense of the climate? The European Commission has presented a €750 billion economic rescue package, 25% of which, like all EU expenditure, will be used for climate action. At the national level, some countries are using economic support packages to curtail pollution. Italy is offering city dwellers up to €500 to help them buy a bicycle or e-scooter. Austria is making bailouts conditional on companies agreeing to eco-friendly changes. For Austrian Airlines, that means reducing the number of short-haul flights, increasing fuel efficiency, and reducing CO2 emissions. The pandemic is also hitting the automobile industry. Consulting firm McKinsey estimates that 7.5 million fewer vehicles will be produced worldwide this year than last. That's a drop of about 10%. In India, air quality improved during lockdown, in part because of a drastic cut in industrial production. the government introduced a €250 billion relief package. Some of that will help businesses, but with no eco-friendly strings attached. But it offers no relief to the beleaguered automobile industry, which represents more than 7% of GDP. That will please environmentalists who want to see the development of a green public transport system.
The city of Pune in western India is paving the way for other cities to claim the commons, encourage walking, and reduce motorized traffic. But is this really possible to sustain in the long term? An NGO which is helping Pune's civic authorities says yes. Let's take a closer look at their plans.
Pune is considered the most livable city in India. At the same time, the traffic is horrendous. Car ownership is rising. The air pollution is intense, and it's noisy. Walking is a dangerous activity. It's now hard to imagine that Pune was once a fine place for cycling.
When I was a kid, I used to travel by bicycle to my school. It was around 5-kilometer trip every day, and I was very safe while riding my bicycle. But over the years, I saw that the bicycle's place was taken away by two-wheelers very easily. 50% of people are using private vehicles. We definitely want to reduce it to just 10% on private vehicles and rest of the travel by buses, cycles and walking.
30 kilometers of footpaths are being built in Pune to make walking enjoyable and safe. There will be greenery separating wide footpaths from traffic and bicycle paths. But there's still a long way to go to encourage people to give up their cars or mopeds. Together with the Institute for Transportation and Development Policy, or ITDP, urban planners and architects have been studying travel patterns in Pune. They want to take into account the needs of ordinary people as they formulate a long-term development plan for the city.
This footpath or this street was conceived as a larger network when we were asked to do one particular street. If we have the last mile connectivity which is established, people will walk to school, walk to market, walk to the BRTA station and maybe walk to the metro.
Pune is now the lighthouse city for other cities to make right kind of financial decisions and invest in walk, bus and cycle. Today is the only Indian city which is making this 50% for the sustainable transportation budget.
Nowadays, school children learn how to get around town in an eco-friendly way. They're encouraged to use the BRT rapid transit bus network. It has dedicated corridors that connect downtown with the suburbs. In Delhi, by contrast, a BRT corridor met with popular resistance and had to be removed. The authorities here want young people to appreciate the benefits of public transport. Buses currently run on natural gas. And as the BRT buses have their own lanes, they get you where you want to go relatively fast. The new wider footpaths are giving people the opportunity to walk rather than drive. And traffic-free public spaces are being created for a little rest or recreation. Shreya Gatapalli, the East Asian director of ITDP, wants people across India to reclaim urban space for their everyday life, like these Pune residents.
You know, we've lost somewhere the idea of living in cities and we just survive. But instead now we are creating cities again for people, where people can live, enjoy their lives and not just run through the rigmarole of daily life.
What's more, with the help of ITDP, 400 kilometers of bicycle paths are going to be created over the next few years. Pune aims to defend its title as India's most livable city and even extend its lead.
In most cities across the world, a lot of systemic change is needed to make modes of transport environment friendly and and secure for the residents. The pandemic has shown us that innovation in our transport systems is imperative. Researchers in a Western German university have been working to solve some of these problems.
At Aachen Technical University, or RWTH, scientists are working flat out. They want to develop new kinds of environmentally friendly mobility for the future. Leading the charge there is its director, Günther Schuh, a man with big ideas. His dream was an electric car that everyone can afford. He believed big car makers weren't interested. So in 2017, Schuh founded the company eGo and built his own factory. Overnight, the scientist became a car maker.
Engineers don't have the privilege of conducting research only with the aim of gaining new insights. Unlike other disciplines, we're obliged to carry out research according to its relevance. We take that very seriously here at Aachen University. So whatever we dedicate our resources to researching, it has to be of use to society. And you also have to be strong enough to fight for things that you think will be good for society, even if the establishment doesn't want them.
Günther Schuh and eGo changed the German automobile market. The Trailblazer's success is inspiring his colleagues at Aachen University to realize their own ambitions. For them, he's a pioneer that opens doors for others to go through.
People would always say, you researchers are academics, you all sit in ivory towers. He broke this stereotype. He showed that universities can also bring new products to the market, successfully bring new products to the market, and we profit from that, of course.
It's showing the way for all of the issues surrounding mobility. We are very happy that he is here in Aachen and that he is helping, even if just subconsciously, to take us all to another level. In my opinion, without Günther Schuh and eGo, we would not have secured the funding for this project.
The team is developing an innovative project with its roots in outer space. In order to connect the cabin of an electric bus to an overhead cable, a highly complex clamping device was developed from satellite technology. Bypassing traffic jams from above, that's the vision. Under the direction of Professor Kai-Uwe Schröder, they've come up with a new concept that has really taken off.
I'm now of the opinion that we have found the key to what mobility might look like in the future. Because we've solved so many problems, by lifting transport up above the ground, we've freed up the space below and can return it again to the people.
It's hoped the People Mover will be at the center of the university's cable bus project. The small electric bus is the latest innovation from Günther Schuh. When the Aachen University crews work on mobility ideas, they often examine how autonomous driving technology can be integrated. For that reason, project leaders are meeting with colleagues from the Institute for Automotive Engineering at Aachen University. They're at the forefront of research into autonomous driving.
We aren't working on systems that need to be put in production tomorrow, but we can take our time to find something for the future.
The researchers are testing the concept in one of the most modern simulators in the world. Here, they're looking into how the movements of a driverless bus impact the senses of its passengers. This prototype, called Speedy, has already passed through the simulation process. Kitted out with the latest technology, it aims to provide a driving experience fit for the future.
It's about improving mobility, not restricting it, and making it environmentally friendly. My job is not only to make that happen, but to try it out and test it with my young team so that they're excited about this journey and then want to pursue it their whole lives.
An excitement that drives innovative ideas and that can change the way we travel in the city and beyond.
Now, the pandemic has put many of us in our thinking chairs, forcing us to confront our choices from the past. Like, how do we travel in the future? What is the impact of this travel on the environment? And is there a way for our travel to be sustainable? Smart travel apps and websites are now helping us answer some of these questions.
Travel guides are great when you're on the road, but back at home, they mainly take up space. Nobody really needs the print versions anymore. Tourism today is smarter.
To me, smart tourism means using the options digitalization provides us to minimize risk as far as possible. And sustainability is also important.
For instance, in how you get to a place. Services like EcoPassenger help travelers compare different routes in terms of their emissions. If you want to know how to travel by train in Asia or Africa, you can visit The Man in Seat 61, a blog created by rail expert Mark Smith from Britain. If you're traveling by plane, sites like Atmosphere will calculate your journey's carbon footprint and convert it into the sum needed for carbon offsetting. A flight from Berlin to Cape Town would produce the equivalent of €150, which you could donate to climate protection projects directly on the site. Other providers use a similar principle.
Sustainability isn't only about CO2, it's also about social sustainability, such as reforestation or education. Traveling could also mean flying to the Amazon to help with social projects there.
People interested in that type of trip can use Social B&B, which lets you book development or conservation projects. For a stronger focus on local projects, there are platforms like Workaway Info. For simply booking accommodation, Fairbnb is a greener alternative. The commissions go to support local projects. The site is still in development, as are most of the services for sustainable traveling.
It would be great if we could expand the data networks and share data better. We even have the technology to collect data as tourists. Let's say I don't find a given offer very sustainable. I could suggest another. If we use the potential there is in the right way, we can also do good.
Now, it's great to be able to look for sustainable alternatives to the way we travel. But in some parts of the world, it's still a luxury that many cannot afford. For some women in India, for example, being able to travel safely across a city all by themselves is in itself a new and liberating phenomenon. And it can't always be done with the environment in mind.
First steps to freedoms on wheels. Here in the city of Haldwani in northern India, these learners are getting ready to roll. While some are making progress after a week of classes, for others, there is still a long way to go. They're finding it's not easy to balance a scooter and a busy domestic life.
We get up very early in the morning and make breakfast for the kids, prepare them for the school, then we cook and do household work. After all that, we come here to learn how to ride a scooter. Riding a scooter has become a necessity nowadays. It is very helpful for the commute. It saves a lot of time. Women are going to colleges and offices, and the scooter has become very important now.
In many parts of India, women are still dependent on men for their mobility. But that's now changing as women venture out onto the mean streets.
Some people cooperate with us on the road. They say, you go ahead, we can wait. It doesn't matter. But not everyone is cooperative. Some say, I'll move first and you stay behind.
Men are having to reassess old attitudes to women drivers.
It is good that women are riding scooters. It is necessary nowadays. They brake very unexpectedly. They drive into heavy traffic and don't know what to do.
The pressures of modern life are taking India's patriarchal society for a U-turn. And despite all the potholes and detours along the way, it appears Indian women are winning their right to mobility.
That's all we have time for you today. I hope you had many takeaways from today's show about how all of us would move from one place to the other in a post-COVID-19 world. And next week, we'll remind you of the variety of Indian cuisine. As the country has urbanized, local and seasonal foods have slowly disappeared from our lives. We met campaigners for the revival of traditional food who grow their ingredients locally, even in cities. I'll see you again next week. Until then, stay safe, take good care of your loved ones and yourself. Goodbye.